Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We've got a monster monitor to look at today. This is the 34-inch Samsung CF791, and what's unique about this is not only is it large and wide, but it is also curved, which actually is doing pretty nicely for me. I don't usually like these curved monitors, but on something this large and this wide, it actually works pretty well, and it gives you, I think, a better image because you're not going off the viewing angle. It's all just very much curved to exactly how you should be looking at it. So I've been quite pleased just playing with this over the last couple of days here. Now I do want to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in free of charge through the Amazon Vine program. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, and no one is reviewing this content before it is posted. So let's take a look at the hardware, and then we will talk about how it works. So again, we've got the 34-inch display on here. There are 3 ports in the back. You've got 2 HDMI and DisplayPort. There's also USB, so you can connect up some USB devices to the back of the monitor. It's got a headphone jack out for audio. There are speakers built in, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And you've got a pretty nice amount of adjustability on it also. So it can go up and down, and you can also tilt the angle a bit with it. You cannot turn it, though, without turning the entire apparatus, so just keep that in mind. And there are also VESA mounting options. They do give you a big metal plate here in the box that you can use to adapt to wall mounts and other things that take a VESA compatible mount. They also have some cable management in the back here as well. I'm not much into cable management, but if I was, you can run cables up the center of this portion here in the arm here and get those cables out of the way to make it look more attractive, especially if you're in an open area with it. So not too bad on that front. Now, this is using the quantum dot technology that Samsung uses in a lot of their displays, and the viewing angles on it are actually very good, especially given the fact that it is curved, and that might change things a little bit if you're off center, but I found it looks pretty good no matter which way you look at it, and you don't seem to have too much of a fall off. It's obviously ideal to be looking at it in the center, but by and large, I've been very pleased with how well everything has been working, especially in Windows. On the Mac, it was a little trickier when I was running in Mac. My Mac is actually driving this right now, but it's up in boot camp mode, so we can get native Windows on it. The Mac had some issues getting the color correction correct with it, so you might want to really spend a lot of time in your color settings on your Mac to get everything right. Unfortunately, there wasn't a profile I could find to download from Samsung's website to get all that going. And the display is running at 3440 by 1440. So think 1440p, but wider, and that means that text is really nice and sharp. It's just the right amount of resolution for getting crisp and clear text, and it really does look nice. And of course, you've got all this room here, so even if you're not gaming on it, you've got plenty of room for multiple windows being open at the same time. You can fit a bunch of these things on screen and keep everything you need to see front and center. So it really does look nice. The color on it is also very nice as well. Again, that quantum dot technology tends to lend itself for better color on the display, 125% of sRGB, and everything really does look good on this display along with those viewing angles you saw before. Also pretty good for gaming. It does 100 hertz for its refresh rate, so not quite 144, but you may have a hard time finding a computer and graphics card combo that can really drive this at the 100 hertz anyhow. It does support AMD Freesync, so if you have an AMD graphics card, a more recent one, you'll be able to have that card synchronize itself up with the display, so you don't have to worry about screen tearing or any other kinds of issues related to frame rate. It will keep that up and running for you. We'll be checking that out in a second. 4 millisecond response rate, a 3000:1 contrast ratio, so you get nice deep blacks here when you've got sites like NASA up where you've got a good contrast between light and dark. It really looks pretty good on there as well, and just by and large, I think it's a nice display just for doing work on. But what we're going to do now is take a look at some gaming. So I'm going to boot up Rocket League, and we'll see how it performs on here. Now, before we boot up Rocket League, we do need to make sure that FreeSync is enabled on the display. So I'm going to go into the menu here. There's a little rocker switch behind the display. I'm going to go over to Menu and go over to System, and you'll see here that I have FreeSync set now to Ultimate Engine. This is off by default, so if you are trying to get FreeSync working, you need to go into the menu first and get that up and running. So that is the first step you need to do, and you also need to go into your AMD settings and make sure that FreeSync is on. If the display is set up properly, you should see the option to turn that on, and then you can go to town on Rocket League. All right, so here we are playing Rocket League. Now, what's of note here is that we're running around 113 frames per second right now. I turned the settings way down on this so I could get better speed out of my Mac, and I'm not seeing any screen tearing whatsoever, and that is what the Freesync is doing, is it's making sure that we don't ever get that tearing going on no matter what the frame rate is. So everything looks very consistent, even though the frame rate is varying pretty widely here depending on what's going on in the game. And what's really cool is when you're playing a game like this, you really see a lot more having this much of a wide viewing angle on what you're doing. So I think as a gaming monitor, this does pretty well. It won't go up to some of the higher frequencies that some of the 144 hertz monitors do, but I think for a lot of folks at the mid-range of the gaming hardware scale, this should probably perform just fine and give you a much wider view of your gameplay than you've had before. Now, I should note that AMD Freesync is only going to work with AMD GPUs. This does not support Nvidia Gsync, which is a similar Nvidia technology, but it is not on this display. So you will be able to use it with your Nvidia graphics card, but you won't be able to get that automatic frame rate syncing with it. So you'll have to adjust VESync within your game settings to get all of that to work. And you can also do some funky stuff like we're doing here, running two different computers side by side on the same view here. So we've got Windows over here and a Chromebook over there, and the display actually instructs the video card to set the display appropriately so you don't get any weird scaling or aspect ratio issues. So we're running here at 1720 by 1440, an exact half of the display for each, and it looks really, really nice on both, and you can get a very usable amount of resolution on both displays, provided you've got two keyboards or some kind of KVM switch or something or a KM switch to get everything going back and forth. It will also let you choose which side of the display generates the sound, so you can switch that on the fly if you need to. The speakers are on the bottom here. They sound pretty good. They're stereo, a little flat, not a lot of bass to them, but they're loud. So if you were looking for something passable, this will certainly work, but not the best quality audio. You might want to use that headphone jack in the back, which is very convenient because you don't have to snake the headphones down to your computer on the floor or whatever. You can plug it into the back of the display here. So all in, I think this is a really decent display. You've got that 100 hertz refresh rate, which is good for gamers, a good 4 millisecond response rate, also good for gamers. There is a gaming mode so that if you're noticing any kind of lag on it, which I'm not seeing right now, but if you notice some of that, you can put that game mode on and eliminate all of its image processing to give you a better shot at less lag on it. But by and large, I think it's good for gamers for sure. It's also very good for content creators as well because you do have all of this screen real estate, really good color, just a nice display to look at, and I'm quite pleased with just how nice this looks and how nicely it performs. It is a little on the pricey side, about $994 on Amazon right now, so this is a more expensive monitor than you might normally see here on the channel, but every once in a while we get in something pretty cool, and I wanted to share a widescreen monitor with you because I know a lot of you are interested in these things, and I think this is a pretty good one. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.